everybody. I just wanted to
Hello.
welcome you to our final online session. So we're going to be going over a few things, and then we're going to have a question and answer at the end of this. So first, I'd like to introduce Martin Springboard, who's going to be talking a little bit more about Zoom and how to use it for students.
Hi, so I'm going to just share my screen here and take you through a short presentation, actually. A brief orientation to online learning that includes the main tools that your faculty will be using as we transition courses, in-person courses, to online environments. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the technical assistance that's available to you at Emory Hills Community College. That assistance is going to be on this resources page that you'll find at the top of the header of our homepage and actually every page on our website. So if you click on See Resources page, which will take you to a page that includes information about technology and online learning. You'll want to click on the link for students to resources and online learning technology, which will take you to a page that is managed by our information technology services staff and updated daily. There's information here on two of the tools that your faculty will be using. D2L, or Desire to Learn, which is the place where all of our online content is housed. You'll find login information here, a link directly to the login page for D2L. There's also a Getting Started guide here that's specific to students. And there's information about where you can get help on the evenings and weekends if you have any problems with D2L. There's also the same information for Zoom. So login link there for Zoom, and just like D2L, you log in with your star ID and password to use that tool. There's also a Getting Started guide specific to students and student use of that tool. And there's a link to 24-hour assistance with Zoom. That'll bring you directly to Zoom staff who will help you. Also on this page is information about email and what it means to whitelist an email address. So email is, or college email is, the official mode of communication. So your student services staff, they will be using this email, campus email, for all communication that's official, and that's important information that you will need to know for your classes and to access student services. That information will come from an inverhills.edu email address. And to make sure that you're seeing that email, you want to make sure that in your email application, you choose to whitelist or make sure that that email or email from that URL or email address gets through to your main inbox and doesn't go to your junk or get thrown away. And lastly, on this page is just information about further technology resources available to you. So information about reduced rate for Wi-Fi, equipment, and software and hardware that you have access to as a student at Emory Hills Community College. Now I'm going to walk you through D2L Brightspace a little bit. So again, this is where your courses will be housed. This is the home screen. This is actually my home screen, so everything I see here, you see here, is really for faculty. My position is to help faculty mainly, but this is the layout of everybody's home screen. So on the left, you'll see a list of the courses that you have access to or that you're enrolled in. Click on any of these courses and it'll take you to the home page for that course. You'll also see announcements on the right. And currently there's an important announcement there for Zoom, has further instructions on how to connect with your faculty using that tool. You can also connect with your fellow students using that tool. And the link at the top of this page is just going to take you back to that COVID-19 resource page on our main website. So in case you lose sight of it, it's also in D2L. Zoom, again, is the tool that faculty will be using to web conference with you and that you can use for classmates if used. Also, our advising and student services staff will be using Zoom quite a bit to meet with students. So this is actually a page of that Zoom student guide that I pointed out earlier that's accessible from our technology resources page. This takes you through the tool, just shows you how to use it in a web browser or on your phone. Just so you know, you have access to this tool whether you join a meeting that has been set up by an advising staff or a faculty member, or if you want to just set up your own meeting with a colleague or a peer, or again, a faculty member or student services person. This is the main toolbar that you'll see in Zoom. So the tools that you'll have access to when you use Zoom. The microphone at the bottom, you can toggle back and forth to mute or have your voice heard or your sound heard. Likewise, you can click on the video or stop video icon just to the right of that to start or stop your video and share your video or webcam. You can also take part in polls that your faculty member or advisor or student services staff might set, and if they allow you to share your screen, the green share screen button is also at the bottom of your screen. I just want to talk a little bit about some tips for success in online courses before I leave you. Here's some success strategies that are proven, whether you're taking online classes at Inver Hills Community College or anywhere else. So basically, login frequency is key to success in any online course. You want to log in and look at that course at the beginning of the week, and then preferably daily, just in case the instructor of that course posts new information. So just log in at the beginning of the week, see what's ahead of you that week, see what the instructor has posted for homework, etc. And then just check back for announcements or to do your homework. I'd also recommend changing or maintaining your own calendar. So outside of the calendars, the various calendars that you might find in your courses, there's a calendar tool in D2L that your instructors might use to set important dates for your courses. Maintain your own separate calendar, just making note of those things from each of your courses so you can keep track of what you have to do on a weekly basis without going back into each one of your courses to find out. Related to that is time management. So the thing that we always tell students is that online does not mean less time. Online courses require just as much effort and time as do face-to-face courses or on-campus courses. You just want to make sure that you devote or pencil in that amount of time that you would have spent on that course in person and spend that same amount of time on that course as it's online or as it's moved online. So designate times to be on task is a good idea. So every day, block times that you're going to be engaged with your courses or a specific course, and make sure you adhere to those times as much as possible. Communication and etiquette is also an important part of basically want to follow the same guidelines as you would in person. Initiate conversations when you need help. So don't be afraid to ask your instructor if you have a question about something or homework. Sooner is always better than later when asking questions. Instructors will appreciate your effort in being ahead of things and asking questions about assignments or upcoming exams earlier, so they have more time to answer those questions. Know your instructor's response time. This is also really important. Your instructor should post something in the class that indicates, how much time to give them. Usually it's about 24 hours to respond to a message or an email. But just know that it's not going to be immediate, that it will vary between instructor or from instructor to instructor or from course to course. Just be knowledgeable of that instructor's indicated response time and know that if you email them, they probably aren't going to respond within a minute or so. It's going to take a little time. Again, this could vary by instructor and by class. Lastly, I just want to make sure you know about our Learning Center. It is still open. although the services and tutoring is moved to an online environment, you can find our tutoring center and this InverTrack link on our website. Tutor sessions, as I said, will continue to be offered by appointment and via Zoom online, and make appointments on the Learning Centers page if you want to take advantage of that service. And here's where we can go to the other panelists for questions.
Before we go into questions for today, Eric, if you're ready, Eric has some resources that are available to students who are struggling with their current situation and like what to do if you're looking for help. Eric, I want to throw it over to you, but one thing I wanted to do is just warn all the panelists, because I didn't do this before. When we come back, I think we can open up to questions, and we'll have each of you introduce yourselves, and maybe just share your favorite online class tip that you have. Something small or something big, however, whatever works for you.
So I should wait to do that until I'm done?
It depends. If you have something right away, go right ahead.
Maybe I'll think about it a little bit. So I recognize that this is a really challenging situation for a lot of people. I mean, it's often referred to as our new normal, where we're interacting with people online. And I think we have to be careful about that, though, too. It is our new normal for now. This is temporary. We don't quite know what the timeline looks like exactly when things will start to feel a little more like they did in the past. But eventually, we'll get back to how things were. But many people are struggling right now, and so it's important to recognize that there are resources available, and the counseling department at Inver Hills has done some work around that. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this works rather slickly. So for students who are wanting to know what sort of help is available to you right now, if you go to Inver Hills homepage and you go to current students, under the student support section, there is a link for counseling and advising. So as long as my internet works, we'll go there. So this will bring us to the counseling and advising page. We're here, we're ready to help you. If you have basic questions and you're not quite sure who to reach out to, you can always email us at counseling@inverhills.edu, and we can direct you to the right person, or we can help you if it's within our bailiwick, so to speak. But as far as specific resources for COVID-19 and some of the challenges you might be facing, we put together these counseling resources. So if you click on this link, it will bring you to our page that has these resources. Now, we are available for appointments. Like I said, we can certainly connect via email. We can also connect via phone. We schedule phone appointments. We can do chat or Zoom video conferencing, like you're observing today. To schedule those, you can email us directly at counseling@inverhills.edu. You can also make an appointment by calling this number, or you can schedule a phone or Zoom appointment online through Starfish. So if you click on that link, it'll actually bring you to a location where you can schedule a time to meet with your counselor or advisor through Starfish, and they should have open availabilities. If you have issues scheduling that way, just email us directly and let us know. We can help navigate that. And here are some numbers based on county. If you're in a situation where there's an immediate threat to your safety, call 911. If you're having a mental health crisis that we say is more acute and urgent, we have these county numbers that you can call for help as well. Now, if you have an urgent counseling need and you want to get a hold of an Inver Hills counselor to talk through that, you can call Kelly Rybert, our front desk manager, at this number, and she can connect you with one of us. We have someone on hand every day for a period of time devoted to helping students who are in a situation where they'd like to immediately speak with someone. If it's not so immediate, you would use one of those other appointment options we outlined before. We also have contact information for each of the counselors on staff. If you want to reach out to us specifically, you can email us or call us. We do have our phones connected at home where we're working remotely. So if you call one of our numbers, it will go to our home location. It won't just ring in the office with no one there. And then there's some additional resources for you to view. So around mental health and self-care, we have connections to support lines, walk-in counseling centers that are doing some Zoom help. I think this resource guide for NAMI put out is really, really helpful just as far as coping specifically with COVID-19 and some of the unique challenges of that. They point out that really some of the traps that we can fall into when we're struggling with the current situation, you know, the value of knowledge and just knowing what's going on, and not falling prey to sort of rumors or poorly sourced news items, but being aware of what's actually happening and going to reliable resources for that information, but also taking time away from the news cycle because it is overwhelming and it's stressful to hear about all the negative things that are happening. And so being proactive about protecting your time and yourself from spending too much time sitting in front of the TV watching the news and watching some of the worrisome things that we hear about every day. So these are just some resources for you to look at. Food resources are available as well. The mobile pantry that we typically had come to campus is not coming on the same schedule, but we do have food available still. And we have staff on hand at campus right now. I think it's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So if you come to campus, there is food available if you're in need of that, or personal items as well. You can also call the open door. So there are a number of resources here as well for food, unemployment resources too. If you've lost your job because of COVID-19, we have a link to the Minnesota Unemployment Insurance Program. If you have questions about that, we could walk through it with you in a Zoom. Emergency grants are available too if you're finding that you're facing financial hardship because of the current situation. That's available as well. There are healthcare resources as well. And then there's just a lot of additional resources. So we put this together specifically with students in mind and the challenges that they might encounter. If there's something that a situation that you're in and you feel like this doesn't speak to that, let us know. We're happy to work with you and really be resourceful in finding ways to help you come to some sort of resolution or to a better place. And you know, the final note that I'll say before handing it back is this can feel really isolating right now. And so I just encourage you to connect with people, family, friends, via phone, via Zoom, whatever way that you can, just to have a little bit of a feeling of connection with other people. If that's hard for you, talk to a counselor at Inver Hills. We're here and we're more than happy to just sit down and chat and hear about how things are going for you. We do what we do because we enjoy working with students and we miss having you on campus and being able to work with you. And so even though it's a little bit different over the phone or via Zoom, we still enjoy it. So don't hesitate to reach out if you need help. Okay, with that, I'll hand it back.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So I am going to have everybody introduce themselves, but because I like to play fair, I'll go first. I'm Nichelle Botko-Woods. I'm the Associate Director of Student Life here at Inver Hills, and that means that I work with students to get involved in clubs or orgs or club sports. We work with health service, so we kind of work with anything outside of the classroom. So I would love to say that it is possible to find connections with students and faculty and staff, and if you don't believe me, I would love to have a one-on-one meeting with you. But also, I took my master's program online, and I would say my #1 trick or tip is that if you are having a meeting either with other students or with your faculty, it doesn't seem like it should be the case, but I really think that those meetings tend to go much better if you can keep your camera on, so people can see how your face is reacting and you feel like you have more of a connection. All of my meetings just tended to go better when I could do that. Not everyone can, but as a general rule, I think it's a good one. So then I'll have each of you guys introduce yourselves. Eric, I know you just went, but do you want to introduce yourself again?
Sure, I can do that. So my name's Eric Berquist. I am a counselor at Inver Hills Community College, and we're also supposed to share an online learning tip. So I think that what I like to tell students who are thinking about exploring online learning is to immediately get comfortable navigating the course early on. And that includes finding the syllabus right away and finding, if it's a separate course schedule, finding the course schedule so that you have a real picture of the work that's expected of you throughout the course. And so nothing catches you off guard. I think that as Martin said earlier, it's valuable to check in at least once a day and spend considerable time on there each day, but it's also, you don't have the same interaction as you would in a classroom where the instructor might say, remember, in 3 weeks, we have this assignment coming up. So I think you have to put yourself in the best position to succeed, and part of that is just being aware of the landscape of the course. All right, when am I going to have a big paper due? When do I have a big exam due? And working with that schedule in mind.
Awesome. So then just moving along in my same order, Brad, can you introduce yourself too?
Yes, I can. I'm Brad Manley, and I teach in the communication department, and I'm also the Student Senate faculty advisor. And I would say I have 2 very quick tips. One, as a communication instructor, I always have to stress the importance of communication being key, and even more so in an online environment. In this case, less is not more, more is more. And if you're not comfortable, don't hesitate to reach out as many times as it takes until you understand what you need to do. Or like I tell all of my students, I give them a lot of different ways to reach me, and they should utilize that. Don't ever second guess like, oh, should I send this email or not? So definitely communication is key. And then the other thing that I'm just from my classes from these first 2 weeks, an issue that's popping up is people's schedules are shifting. So I have a lot of students that are maybe playing video games, or I'm sure doing lots of productive things, that are staying up until 3 or 4 in the morning. And then, then you sleep until 2 or 3 in the afternoon, which is fine, no judgment whatsoever. But I think it's really important not to let your schedule shift too much. Try to stay as close to normal as you can. Otherwise, you may find that you're getting less quality sleep, and that's going to impact your ability to keep up with your classes and have quality work. So that's it for me.
Thanks. So everybody's already met Martin, and he has all of the tips for us for online. But if you wanted to just introduce yourself again one more time and maybe tell us your favorite tip.
My favorite tip. Okay, I'm the director of online learning. I'm actually shared between Inver Hills Community College and Dakota County Technical College. My role is to work with faculty to help them with anything related to teaching and learning. I don't normally deal directly with students, but I'm happy to work with students whenever I have the chance. Let's see, my favorite tip for online learning has got to be that I'm just going to reiterate what I said before because it is my favorite. It's just engaging early and often. And just go back to what Eric also said, it's so important to be engaged. Even if you're running behind in a class, like if you feel like you're getting behind, participate in discussions, let the instructor see that you're there, communicate with your instructor as much as possible. Again, even if you're not keeping up with the course. I taught for 15 years before moving into faculty development, and as an instructor, I always appreciated those students that came to me early and communicated and asked questions.
Thanks. Matt, would you introduce yourself?
Of course, thanks, Nikki. Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Kruger. I am the Director of TRIO Student Support Services here at Embry Hills, and we work with a specific population of students, providing advising, support, and kind of holistic guidance through college and to transfer on to get their bachelor's degree. So if that sounds interesting, check us out. We're on the website. We're still operating like normal. And I think that's important to note that as much as possible, the college is continuing to offer all of our services just in a different format. So it will take some getting used to for all of us, but keep that in mind. As far as a tip for online learning, one thing that Martin had in his presentation that I would highlight is setting a time and space for you to do your learning. So that means keeping a schedule and setting up a time for each of your classes. When you take a class in person, the schedule is already dictated for you. You know that you're going to be sitting in that classroom in FA 190 or Business 142 or whatever it is from 10 a.m. to 11:15. You now need to make sure that you've got that time in your schedule. And then along with that, you need to know what the space is that you're going to be using to do your work. And I strongly recommend making that a different space than where you sleep or where you eat or where you hang out. So, you know, even if you don't have a lot of space available to you, and I know that's the case for a lot of us, we're making do in whatever part of our houses that we can do our work. When you know that you're going to go do your schoolwork, set up as much of a desk type situation as you can for yourself. Clear off the kitchen table. Make sure that the only thing that's in front of you is your computer and any school materials. And then let your family know that's your time for doing your homework, and that you're dedicating that time to schoolwork so that you can spend more time with them later, and then you're not constantly distracted and trying to do it all day long. So that would be my tip. Set up your space and time so that you can focus just on school. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, so I'm Jenny Amata. I'm one of the moderators here also, but I'm not a faculty. I'm a staff, but I'm also a student who takes classes now online at Metro State, actually. And one of the things that biggest help for me when I did transition to online, because I was an in-person student when I was a student at Denver, going to online at Metro, one of the biggest things I did was print every schedule off. I printed it off, hung it up, made sure that I had it right in front of me so I could see all the tasks that I needed to be doing. And I talked to my teachers a bunch, probably more than necessary, but just to make sure that I was on track and that I was understanding everything, because sometimes when I would read something on D2L, I wouldn't necessarily understand it, but then me just talking to them or calling them always helped me clear it up. And then, you know, teachers were great and they could always help me with something. If I needed extension or anything like that, they were always willing to help me out with that. So with that, we're going to start off with some questions that we have. And one of the first questions that we have is, will the grading for classes be changing? And whoever wants to take that can go ahead.
Matt, should I tackle this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the answer to the question is Kind of. So I'm going to share my screen to look at an email that was sent out this week that specifically addresses some of these changes. So we can see here that we have extended the deadline to request a pass no credit grade. So that's one option that is emerging that is fairly new at the time that we're recording this, but essentially students will have the option to select a pass or no credit grade much later in the semester. In fact, it will be after the date of the final date of courses. So students have more flexibility there. And this is really in an effort to recognize that this is an unprecedented situation, and we understand that students are being asked to do a lot, and that you also have your own challenges at home. Some of you with kids who are in school are now also teaching and going to school. And so we want to be as accommodating as we can be. And then also withdraw dates have been pushed back as well. So full semester courses, the withdraw date is now May 1st. So you have a lot more time to sort of evaluate your standing in the course and make that decision. And in any of these cases, we encourage you to reach out to an advisor or counselor. If you have one assigned, reach out to that assigned person or someone in TRIO that's assigned to you to talk about your options and what makes the most sense for you, because it really is a unique situation for each student. But I think there might be some additional questions about that. So I'll save some time for that to comment on that further later.
I could add too, if you want, Nikki. Just tell me to shut up if you don't.
No, please do.
From a course level with the grading, I would also say that it will, like general class grading, not necessarily per class, it'll vary. You know, your instructors were given 2 weeks to sort of figure out the shift if you were in a face-to-face to online or a hybrid to fully online. Chances are, if you were in you were already in an online class, maybe not a lot of changes, but per class, per instructor, there could be a difference in how they're adapting this sort of crazy semester. So it's important to make sure that you're getting you're receiving emails from your instructors. You should be receiving, or maybe on D2L, they're posting an updated syllabus. And so, using myself as an example, I had 2 courses that could still basically run the same with just scheduling tweaks, but not really grading tweaks. And then I had one class, my small group communication class, where I actually ended up having to shave 100 points off of the semester just because of the crunch that we were going to be feeling here shortly. And so because of that, I had to tweak some of the assignments. So 2 classes that really didn't change much except for how we were executing them. So grade-wise staying the same. And then I had 1 class where I had to reduce the points. So each instructor, based on the class and where you're at, is going to have to change. So just make sure that you're staying in contact with the instructor, that you're paying attention to what's being posted on D2L. All of that will vary. So.
Thanks. So the other questions, and I hear these sometimes very often from students, are around that same topic, are what should I do if I'm thinking about withdrawing? And also, why would I choose or not choose to take a pass or no credit, excuse me, option for grading? What would be the cost benefit of that, I guess?
I can jump in on this one, and then Eric or anybody else, if you have things to add. So the first question, why would you choose a pass or no credit? And then I think the other thing to consider is the withdraw. I think, you know, again, to reiterate what Eric said earlier and what is in that email, these are all individual questions, and there are lots of things that you should be considering. Your current GPA, your intended major and degree, where you plan to transfer. Are you planning to transfer? Are you hoping to go on to get a bachelor's degree? Do you want to be licensed or certified in a specific field? So all of those are things that you should be talking about with your advisor or counselor. And so, I think what Martin said early on was communicate is key, and that goes for this situation as well. Be in communication with your person, whoever your advisor, counselor, your trio advisor is. Make sure that you're talking with them. And then the other thing that I would say, just as a general rule, I know that this is all new and it feels overwhelming to all of us. And if you are having those feelings and you're struggling with it, again, communicate, talk to somebody, talk with a counselor in particular if you're feeling overwhelmed or like you aren't going to be able to handle it. But don't make rash decisions right now just because you're feeling overwhelmed. These grades, as much as we all know that this has been a bizarre semester and one of the strangest experiences we've ever been through, these grades are still going to be on your transcript, and what happens this semester is still going to have consequences later on. So make sure that you are taking the time to consider and talking with your advisor or counselor before you make any of those decisions. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, I could jump in too, just to add a few things. I think, because some of the students may not have a clear sense of why anyone would choose a pass no credit. And so just to kind of give an example, a really kind of obvious example might be a student who is otherwise has a 4.0 GPA. And given the strange situation that we're currently in, suddenly you're teaching your kids at home while also grappling with your coursework, and you're worried that your GPA is going to be negatively impacted out of something that was largely, because of something that was largely out of your control. A pass grade would be a grade that you could get if basically, I think it's C- or higher. So let's say you're looking at like a C grade, and that's going to tank your GPA. A pass grade would not impact your GPA, but it would demonstrate that you've passed the course. You would not have to retake the course. But again, that caveat still stands that you want to talk to an advisor or counselor about how that decision might impact things down the road. We're hearing a lot of encouraging things from transfer institutions about the spring of 20 semester and how it'll be viewed. A lot of encouraging things about the pass grade for the spring. And so some of that stuff's still emerging, and that's also why it's valuable to check in with a counselor or advisor, because we're looking at these questions frequently and trying to see how different majors, different programs are treating the passing grade. So this is really evolving. And so because of that, it's also valuable to touch base. And then as far as withdrawing, I did want to comment further on that, and maybe Brad wants to say something from the perspective of an instructor as well. But as a counselor, I think withdraws, it's nice that we have this extended timeline now, because that really gives you a sense of whether it's appropriate for you. But withdraws are something that you do want to check in with an advisor or counselor about, to see if there are any academic standing ramifications. And also, is it really the case that you need to withdraw? I've had many students who've withdrawn from a course, and the instructor has been kind of confused and said, why did they withdraw? They were doing just fine. And we actually were able to get a student back into a class. They were able to successfully complete the course. And I think this gets back to what Matt was saying about making sort of rash decisions. Really make sure it's the best decision for you. And part of that involves talking to your instructor and seeing where you really stand in the class. And is it something that you have to be doing? Does it make the most sense for you? Is there sort of no option for you to succeed in the class at that point? And that's a conversation you can have with your instructor. And then there's the other academic standing piece, which is it going to impact your academic standing if you withdraw? Is it to your benefit in that regard? And I suppose a third component too worth acknowledging is it that you're feeling overwhelmed? Is it a personal concern? Is it a mental health concern? And maybe talking with a counselor about time management or just sharing those feelings with someone might help you feel better about returning to the course and being successful in it. When in the moment it feels really overwhelming, but it could change over time, because a lot of times those feelings of being overwhelmed, anxious, they're temporary. They come and they feel really intense, but they go away eventually. And so being open to that. So that's all I have.
Yeah, I would add that, I mean, this semester is, I'm calling it hashtag survival mode. So, you know, that gives you kind of the faculty perspective, and our focus is on flexibility, flexibility, flexibility. You know, it's like, what do we need to do to get through now? I think it's 5 weeks plus finals. So it's just going to evaporate. And I know the faculty that I've been working with are all on the same page as far as like, let's find a way to help students and help them to be successful, and even more so than we are already do. And then the other thing that I would say is that this is like a new normal, right? Because we already introduced these classes back in January, and now, you know, coming back last week, we're sort of you're relearning. It's like day one, part two. So just keep in mind that faculty are in the same place for the most part, and you know, we're introducing you to the same class but in a completely different delivery style. So there's going to be a you know, initial stress as we figure this out, and things are going to seem a lot more complicated than they are because of the logistics of online classes. It just takes a lot more, I guess, busy work to get the same stuff done. It's like I could do a 5-minute announcement at the beginning of class, but now I have to do like a 3-page document. So you'll have a lot of information flying your way for these first couple weeks, but just like with the beginning of the semester in January, you're probably overwhelmed, and then we get into a groove and you start to figure it out, and you're going to feel more comfortable and less stressed. So this should be a temporary feeling, but definitely talk to your faculty if you're having concerns.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. So the next question that we had was, if I need food or personal supplies, is there a way to get help with that at Ember Hills?
So yes, as I mentioned in the presentation I did earlier about the resources that we have available, we do have people on campus. If you come to campus and you're in need of food or personal care items, those are available. Just be aware of our hours. Let me double check them. I believe they are 10
a.m. to 3 p.m.
10 a.m. to 3 p.m., but it's just Monday through Thursday. So we do have staff on campus during those times, and we're working to ensure social distancing and those things, but don't hesitate to let us know if you need that assistance, and we will accommodate you, okay?
Really quickly related to that, I think that it's the same hours, so I'll just have you answer it. Can a student come to campus if they need to print something?
Yes, so we do have the ability to print on campus. So you can certainly, again, come during those staffed hours to use computer labs. We're trying to work on making sure that they're cleaned frequently and that students are separated within the lab when they're using it so that they're not too close. And, you know, I think realistically, though, reflect on if it's something you really need to print. I don't want to discourage anyone from using that resource, but I also don't want people to use it without seriously thinking about, is it worth coming to campus, going to the computer lab and printing something off? Is it something that you need to? Some people do. There are certainly cases where that's the case, but just if you have questions about that or concerns about that, you can always contact counseling too and say, I'm thinking about printing this off. Is it something I should be coming to campus for? You can do that, but that's resources available.
One other resource that I don't know that we've mentioned yet is that our health services is still available, and they are also offering online appointments with either a nurse or a doctor, and the doctor is available Monday from 1 to 4 p.m. So if you have health concerns and the Inver Hills Health Services is your normal first stop for healthcare, make sure that you're still using that resource, and check out their website as well for more details about how to do that and get signed up for a Zoom appointment with a doctor. But that is still available to you. Again, it's just in a different format.
Awesome. Okay. And then the next question that we have is, how do I get my books if I need books? And then, is the bookstore open currently?
So I can take this one, and then anyone else that wants to comment can certainly add. I'm going to share my screen again to provide, again, access to that email that was sent out when we discussed academic affairs. It also has information about the bookstore. So right now it's closed to the public, the bookstore itself. And that's until further notice. So this could change. We just don't know when exactly it will change. And I want to keep that in mind because we're recording this, and if you're watching it at a later date, maybe this information has changed. But staff in the bookstore, they're still working, they're still monitoring the email. So if you contact them, we have the email address here with questions, they can answer those. They still plan on fulfilling orders. So you could have a book, I believe, sent to your home. There's also some online options too for books. And then the bookstore website too will take orders 24/7, and that link is here as well. So don't come to campus to go to the bookstore to purchase books, but you can still get books if you order online or contact the bookstore directly.
I would add in just really quick that I have received probably 1,000 book publisher emails since the COVID-19 thing has broken. So a lot of them are trying to be helpful and offer free access. So it also wouldn't hurt if you get your book details to reach out to the publisher and see if they're offering anything that might help you access it for free. It's worth a shot. So take advantage.
One other resource that I wanted to share that was brought up in a different session was the Red Shelf is offering online books for free during these times because they understand that people are switching. The link to get to it, it's kind of a long one, but it's www.about.redshelf.com/redshelfresponds. But if I'm honest with you, I found that link very easily by putting in Red Shelf free online books, and then it has a whole list about how they are making certain resources available right now because times are unlike ones we've experienced before. So then
Nikki, I can add a point on that. So working with faculty who use digital materials or ebooks and get those through to their students through Red Shelf, I can share something that I share with faculty a lot, or just remind faculty of a lot to share within their courses. These are the contacts for Red Shelf and Vital Source, so the two common places that we do ebooks through or get digital content from. So this is the help at Red Shelf is where you would go for assistance accessing Red Shelf materials. And Vital Source is support.vitalsource.com. These are where we recommend faculty advise students to go. So if you have digital content or ebooks that you're accessing through Red Shelf or Vital Source and need help, these are the places you should go.
Thank you. So we did have another question. Excuse me, which we've already answered. So I think that I really quickly want to share some virtual resources that Student Life has put up for fun and for connection, but I'm going to pull that up. So I think that the final question would just be, is there anything else that any of you would like to share, or are there any common pitfalls that students can avoid while taking their online classes?
I can add one. I would say forgetting that you're in an online class. I know that seems a little obvious, but it's not so much, especially when you're juggling a lot of different responsibilities and dealing with just a stressful time. It's easy for a class that you're not going to campus for. It's easy for that class to have it become sort of out of sight, out of mind. And so I think that having a set time where you are focusing on devoting time and work to that class and not just sort of checking in as you feel like you can, making it a priority around other responsibilities to check that class status, look at announcements, see if there are any changes, making sure you're getting assignments in on time. I mean, that's one thing, is just be present in the class, even though it's easy to forget sometimes that you're in a class because you have so many other things going on.
Yeah, and right now we're speaking in the spring of 2020 semester. Inver Hills has already stated that all summer courses are going to be online this summer. Many of you may have registered for summer courses. Many of you may have registered for fall 2020 courses. So, the end of the semester is a good time to go back again, talk with your advisor or counselor, double check your registration for summer or fall, make sure that you know which classes you're in and what formats they're going to be offered in, because especially the fall semester, things might change depending on how the global situation changes. So, again, as with all of this, communication is key. Stay connected, talk to your faculty, talk to your advisor and counselors, connect with other students, and stay in communication with everybody, and we'll all get through this together.
Just want to add one thing on Eric's point about not forgetting you're in an online class. So one easy way to make sure that that doesn't happen is in your profile, have notifications pushed to your email. That'll sort of remind you, oh, my instructor just posted something new. There's a new assignment. There's a new announcement. It's really easy to set up in D2L. Just go to your profile. You can even select your preferred email and put it in there. So do that and make sure that you continue to get notifications on those classes that you're in.
So I would echo that a little bit as well and say that help your instructors help you. So I tell all of my students, like, please help me help you. If your situation changes, let me know, reach out. And we had talked about how flexibility is key. So making sure that I had a student that had lost their job and then was able to get a new job, and so now they have a different schedule. So I'm working directly with that student for them to be able to continue on with the class, and that's what it's all about. So if you have things come up, just make sure sooner rather than later, let the faculty know, and we'll find a way. And then I would say counselors as well have access to a lot of resources. So if things change with rent or vehicle breakdowns and things like that, there's so many resources out there. So So track down a counselor and yeah, communication is key, like Matt said, and as a communication instructor, I endorse that.
Awesome. So really quickly, I'm going to share one additional resource simply because I think that our needs as human beings are multiple, right? And so having things for distraction at a time like this and having an easy access for resources is great. The student bulletin is kind of our bulletin board or online bulletin board of all announcements that students should get or can get. You get an email every other week, but it's always available on the website. So if you're just here, you can always go to this visit the current student page. So from there to here, and then click read the student bulletin. The other way to get there is just to type in, it's studentbulletin.inverhills.edu is the link to it. And this is what it looks like as of today. We keep adding different things, but this student life virtual involvement page has we continuously update about programs online, ways that you can get involved in clubs and organizations or just meet with other people online, some online resources. And then because we know a lot of people are at home, we have a variety of different virtual tours that you could do online, museums that you can see, live animal cams where you can go look at sweet baby baboons and giraffes. And I think that there's even one that's there's a couple of penguin ones, really great stuff. And then some stuff for you people who are parents. We know that because often many of the people who are here, we know that our parents, we know that being able to do your schoolwork and your work and then also take care of school with your kids can be really complicated as far as a schedule. So we just have some options here for things that you might be interested in doing with your kids on your own. I want to say, if you have ideas for things we can add, we want them, and we'll add them there. If you want to get involved in any way, reach out to whoever it is right? Because as everybody was saying, we will get you connected, and we miss seeing you. So with that, does anybody have anything else that you want to add before we end?
Good luck. And have fun. This is hopefully a once in a lifetime experience that's going to change the world forever. So live in the moment.